Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very interesting show for you. Yep, we're going to talk about the future of the Tennessee Vols, Nico time, and all that good stuff. We're also going to talk about Florida's recruiting. It begins its free fall, which you could kind of expect. Given how poorly they performed this year, they're on a 3-game losing streak, and they've got 2 tough games ahead of them. And they've lost 2 key recruits in 24 hours. So it's definitely, they're freaking out.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's understandable. Look, it just is what it is. All right, let's talk about Nico and the Vols. The Missouri game stunk up the joint, something awful. That was super frustrating. And the reality is, if you look at this score from last year, you would think, boy, we beat the crap out of Missouri last year, and they were actually in the game until the third quarter, and then Hendon Hooker took over like you like to do. But they scored 24 points, and Brady Cook gave us a lot of grief for over half of that game, and you could see the guy was a player. He's just got a lot of moxie. And then you look at our score Saturday, right here, 36. Well, 29 of that is what the offense scored. We gave them 7 with the pick 6. So they scored 5 more points than last year, and yet it looks like they boat raced us. The difference was we scored 66 last year. This year we scored 7. To me, the big problem is the offense. Now, the defense could have played a whole lot better. Elijah Herring played poorly. He took a lot of bad angles on Brady Cook, and he made Brady Cook look like Michael Vick out there, by him like he was running a 4.3 40. And Brady Cook does not run a 4.3 40. I know it looks like he does, but he does not. So, to me, it's our offense that's the biggest problem. And our defense has to be out there so much because we were unable to run the ball. Because Missouri showed up and said, you're not going to run on us. You've run on everybody else. You're not running on us. We're going to make you win with your quarterback. That's not a good plan for us. You know, we've got an okay quarterback. He's decent and he's improved this year. But he's no Hendon Hooker and he's no Brady Cook. You know, he's a game manager, pocket passer that has finally started running a little bit, but it's not his natural thing. You can tell he doesn't really like doing it. He's got some good top-end speed, but he doesn't have that elusiveness that a Hendon or a Brady have, or certainly Jaden Daniels or Jaden Milroe, all down, you know, basically the best quarterbacks in the SEC. He's not in that list. He's somewhere in the middle, sort of a middle-of-the-road SEC quarterback. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm not ripping on the guy. It's just, you know, our offense is not set up for that style of quarterback. It just isn't.
I'd unfriend you.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
I've done my best to say positive about it, and I like Joe, and he's got a lot of skills. He's not right for this offense. He's just not. Sorry, he's not. You need a running quarterback who is very comfortable with pocket awareness. He knows how to escape. He can throw with touch on the run. He can put arc on the ball when he needs to. He can drill it when he needs to, and can come up with that big third down play that Brady Cook did every single time. 3rd down and 10 from the 1, and he runs at 20 yards. Are you kidding me?
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
That is ridiculous. He did that multiple times. That's what Hendon Hooker used to do all the time. That's also what Bryce Young did, and all the best quarterbacks do that. Jaden Daniels, that's the type of quarterback we need, and that's who we've got over there in Nico. But I don't think he'll play in the Georgia game. I think we'll stick with Joe, and that's probably the best thing to do given the circumstances. I don't like our chances in that game. Obviously, Georgia's on a whole nother level than any other team in the country. I don't even think it's that close. I really don't see any other team that's going to be able to compete with them. Maybe Alabama, just because it's Alabama, but it's going to be tough. I think Georgia will probably beat them. But I don't know how Tennessee's going to be able to compete with them, not with something magical at the QB position, and we don't have that. So, unfortunately, that's probably going to be a tough game. And then we'll boat race Vanderbilt because it's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's bad this year.
Okay.
You know, and that's really saying something. You know, last year at least they gave a couple of teams a game, and then we just whooped them into oblivion 52-0 with our backup quarterback. So I'm not worried about that game. We're going to finish 8-4, it looks like, and go to a decent bowl game, and then we're on to Nico. We'll probably see Nico in the bowl game. I would think Joe will probably step out in that game and let Nico take over and prepare for the NFL draft, which I think he will get drafted. He's got a great arm and very impressive, and he's got the size, and there's going to be an NFL coach out there that says, I can work with that guy. I can do something special with him. I think he'll end up being a journeyman quarterback, backup style quarterback, which is a fantastic job to have. That's probably the best job in football. He's going to make millions of dollars. He's not going to get hurt. He's going to be able to stay in the league many, many years and be a multimillionaire and have a great life and do commercials and everything else. Got that big smile. I think he's going to have a great life. I really do, and I wish him all the best. I do. And we still got 2 games with him. Who knows? He may stay for the bowl game. We'll see. I kind of feel like he probably shouldn't and let us move on with Nico, but, we'll see. But I would not expect Nico to play any significant role in either the Georgia game or the Vanderbilt game unless it's a second half and we're up by 30, which that could very well happen. All right, folks, now we're going to talk about the Florida Gators. You could kind of see the free fall coming. They got absolutely wrecked by LSU, 700 yards. That's crazy. That's like the most yards ever. And Jaden Daniels had 600 or something. I mean, it was just nuts. That guy, he ran all over him, threw all over him. It was wacky, honestly. And in the last 24 hours, they've kind of had the nightmare scenario. And I'll show you what's going on down there. And this, again, is High Top Sports. And by the way, they've hit 18,000 subscribers, so congratulations to High Top Sports. They're nice guys. They love their Gators. And, of course, they also cover Florida State there. They've got a guy that does that.
If you got a moment, I would like to just go over the last 48 hours or so for the Florida Gators. First thing that happened was we had a decommitment, and Jamonte Waller, 4-star edge out of the state of Mississippi, went to Auburn. And then shortly after, our defense gave up 700 yards. We lost to LSU by a landslide. And then today, just moments ago, we lost a second recruit, that being Wardell Mack, 4-star cornerback, the 129th player in the country. So if you know a Gator fan, if you are a Gator fan, just hold them or hold yourself with any which way you possibly can, because right now the sky is falling. And it's right now it's coming down on us heavy. Hayes Foster didn't hold any punches last night. He dropped the news right in the middle of the LSU game that Jamonte Waller had flipped to Auburn, and now after we're licking our wounds from a 700-yard defensive-less game, we lose Wardell Mack. Now, to be fair, to kind of settle the mood, if it's going to help at all, hand to God, I knew of this news. We knew of this news. The fam here at High Top Sports were aware of a possibility of Wardell Mack flipping, just didn't know when. Glad he chose to save it for today. Appreciate that for breaking the news, flipping to Texas. So now that doesn't make it any better. He's still gone. No, but it isn't like it appears that it's piling on top of what already happened. But that's kind of what I'm trying to make you feel better on. If it does make you feel any better, that it's not just because they gave up 700 yards and because Jamonte Waller. This has seemed to be already in the works.
All right, yeah, so the mood is kind of going negative down there. And if you've watched how they've gone this year, even though, of course, they had to beat us at the Swamp because that's what we do down there.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
We lose at the Swamp. I don't understand why. Now, this year I do understand it because we have not won a tough game this year unless it was at home. And even then, we've kind of struggled at times with teams we probably should have boat raced. But again, we're just not a powerhouse on offense. We're way down on our offense, what we're used to the last 2 years where we were number 7 and number 1 in the country with 41 points per game, then 46. We're way down in the low 30s now. So, it's kind of crashed and burned. We've become a running team because that's where our strength is. Our strength is not throwing the ball. We've not had a single 300-yard game. That was an average game for Nico, not for us anymore. So anyway, but Nico's on his way. But if you look at Florida here, they've lost the last 3 games. Georgia, of course, they lost. We knew that was coming. Arkansas was the brutal one. That was a brutal loss. And really, had they lost the South Carolina game, this would be an epic free fall. South Carolina got beat by them. They were up by 10 in the fourth quarter, and that became a backbreaker for Shane Beamer, the possible sign stealer guy. Allegedly, he and Connor Stallions, allegedly. Anyway, and then, of course, they got boat raced by LSU and Jaden Daniels with an epic offensive output. They've got to go to Missouri and place Brady Cook, which good luck to you on that one. It's at 7:30 at night on ESPN, so Missouri will be ready for them. I highly doubt they'll win that game unless something significant happens. Then they got to take on Florida State at home in the Swamp. Now, I told you I thought they'd be 6-6 at the beginning of the year. If they lost to us, they'd be 5-7. I think they'll probably win one of these two. And don't be shocked if they beat Florida State. Look, I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to in-state grudge matches at home, You never know what's going to happen. So I'm still on the 6-6 train.
Are you sure?
Leaning 5-7 a little bit, which that's going to be tough on Billy Napier. If he finishes the season with 5 straight losses and no bowl game.
You serious?
Could we have another Jimbo Fisher situation? I think they'll give him another year because of recruiting, but they just lost 2 4-stars. Wardell Mack was ranked as high as number 53 in the country, and Jamonte Waller was ranked as high as number 48. So those are 2 top 100 4-stars that they've lost in their recruiting, and that's really what everything has been based on. It's like the future, the future, the future. Here's the problem. When you start losing and you start stacking losses, those recruits are going, I don't know that I want to go in there. I don't want to go into that mess, and I don't know if the coach has a good standing there. You know, he could get let go in the next 12 months. He could get let go in a week or 2. I'm telling you, colleges and universities are very fickle, and Florida goes through coaches like Tennessee goes through coaches. Thank goodness we got Heupel. And any of this nonsense, insane talk that anything needs to be done with Heupel,
No way.
other than a pat on the back for the great job he's done over the last 3 years, is insanity. I won't listen to it. It's not allowed.
I want potato
You'll
chips.
get nothing like it.
So, yeah, I won't allow that on this channel for even a second. And that's very little of it, but you always get a few crazies out there. But I'm telling you, fan bases aren't going to put up with 5 straight losses. He needs to win one of those games. He just flat out does. If he loses 5 straight, that recruiting class could really fall apart. And I mean in a major way. And I don't like their chances against Missouri at all. It'll probably have to be Florida State at Ben Hill Griffin Kelly Clarkson Stadium, whatever how many names they've got in that thing.
No, Kelly Clarkson!
So anyway, that's probably their chance to win at the Swamp. I think they finish 6-6, but don't be shocked if they go 5-7 and this thing just completely collapses. So anyway, that ought to make you UT fans feel a little better after that horrible loss. And oh, by the way, not one live game penalty in the first 3 quarters against Missouri. Not until the 4th quarter, when the game was basically over, did they call a couple of live game penalties, and we had 3 or 4 big ones against us. They had no problem calling holding on us and none on them. So it continues on with the refs. They just don't like Josh Heupel's offense. It goes too fast, it irritates them, and it rushes them, and they don't like it. That's the only thing I can figure of why it's been so one-sided. So anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover my Vols, the SEC, a lot of these big stories. There's a lot of big stories out there I like to cover. I've covered the Michigan and a lot of other things, South Carolina's Beamer and that whole scandal with Connor Stallions, his possible involvement here, members of his team. And we'll get to the bottom of it eventually. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit this little button. Costs you nothing, helps me out. It'll send my videos right to you on your feed, make it easier to find if you don't care. And right over here's the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.